All right, guys, so if we look at this here, negative y equals x squared. And we want to identify the focus directrix axis of symmetry of the parabola, and we're not going to graph. We're going to identify these three parts. Now, when we look at the equation, we have negative y equals x squared. Now, when we think about the two general equations, y equals 1 over 4p parentheses x minus h squared plus k, and we have x equals 1 over 4p, y minus k squared plus h. Well, here, the x is being squared, so the general equation that we're using is our y equals 1 over 4p parentheses x minus h squared plus k. This is going to be the general formula that we use. And the main reason we know that is because the value of our x is being squared. We have x squared. Now, it's understood, and just because of the way this is set up, the h and k are both going to be 0. Because the vertex for this here is going to be the point 0, 0. We're mainly just looking at the general equation 1 over 4p times x squared. So if I can get the equation that they gave us in this form, we can find the value of p, which will then give us the vertex, or well, really the focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. Is the equation they gave us in the form y equals 1 over 4p times x squared? What do y'all think?
Rachel Dunn, please come to the office.
Well, no. What's different?
Please come to the office.
It's a negative y. We need the y to be positive. So to fix that, we can divide both sides by negative 1. Well, negative y divided by negative 1 is just y. X squared divided by negative 1 would be negative x squared. Now, is it in the same form of y equals 1 over 4p times x squared? Well, yes. Now, we have the values of h and k. H is equal to, k is equal to 0, and we still need to find the value of p. Because the only one we're missing is p. So what is taking the place of 1 over 4p in our equation that they gave us? What is in that spot? The negative 1. Even though we don't have it written out as negative 1, but there is a negative 1 in front of the x squared being multiplied. So we're really saying that 1 over 4p, where the p is located, is in the same place where negative 1 is. So now we can find the value of p. So what would we do first? Multiply both sides by 4p. Now here the 4p and 4p will cancel, telling us 1 is equal to negative 1 times 4p is negative 4p. So what do we need to do next? Divide both sides by negative 4, which tells us p is equal to negative 1/4. So the general equation we had was y equals, yes? because that's our starting equation. That's the general form we looked at. So the y equals, if we look at it there, the focused, it tells me, is what? H comma k plus p. What's the value of h? K plus p would be 0 plus negative 1/4, which is just negative 1/4, because 0 plus negative 1/4 is going to be negative 1/4. So our focus is 0 comma negative 1/4. So let's look back at the general form. It also tells the directrix is y equals, drop that there, and it would be what? K minus p. Well, that'd be 0 minus negative 1/4. Well, the negative and negative make a positive exactly. It would just be 1/4. And the axis of symmetry is x is equal to 0. X is equal to h, or x is equal to bless you. And that's it. And that is it. Questions on this here? Let's look at one last one of these here, and then we'll move on to the next part. So we have y squared equals 6x. Well, this is going to come in the form of x equals 1 over 4p times y minus k squared plus h. Well, as we've seen already, the vertex is still 0, 0. The vertex for this here is 0, 0. So really, we're just looking at x is equal to 1 over 4p y squared. And we can really simplify down to this because h and k are both going to be 0. They're both going to be 0. Is the equation that they gave us in the correct setup? Is it set up the way we need it? Well, no. Is x by itself? Well, no. So what do we need to do to get x by itself? Divide both sides by 6. Well, 6 divided by 6 is 1, so we're just left with x is equal to, well, 1/6 y squared. And we really leave it as 1/6 y squared because that is the exact same thing as y squared over 6. It's set up this way because it's easier to match up what 1 over 4p will match up to. And what does 1 over 4p match up with? 1 over 6. So if I really want to find the value of p, I can set 1 over 4p equal to 1 over 6. Questions on this here? Now, what can we do first to solve for the value p? Multiply both sides by 4p. These will cancel out, telling us that 1 is equal to 4p over 6. Now, normally, y'all have a tendency to, at this point, to divide both sides by 4/6, and that would work just fine. But we could actually do something a little bit easier, and I can actually multiply both sides by what? What is it? No, not 4p over 6. It would be. Anybody have another guess? What are we trying to cancel out? 4 over 6, yes? How can I cancel the 6 in the denominator? Yeah, I heard it, I think. because 4 over 6 times 6 over 4, well, that'd be the same as 4 times 6 over 4 times 6. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 6 is 24. So that would reduce to 1. So here I can multiply by 6 fourths. 6 and 6 simplify. 4 and 4 simplify. Leaving p by itself, and it's equal to, well, 6 fourths will reduce to 3 halves. Now, we already said the value of h is 0. The value of k is 0. Now, since the y value is squared, our focus is going to be what? H plus p comma k. Because again, we're just going back from the original general setup. Because x equals 1 over 4p times y minus k squared plus h. Focus is h plus p comma k. So we have h plus p comma k. Well, k is, h is 0 and p is 3 halves. Well, what is 0 plus 3 halves? So the focus is 3 halves comma 0. That's it. Directrix. Again, it tells me it's x equals, well, it would be h minus, h is minus. And what is 0 minus 3 halves? Axis of symmetry. Y is equal to 0. Y is equal to k. And k in this case is 0. And that's it. Questions on this here? Okay, heads up. Example 3, this one here, write the equation of the parabola shown. Write the equation of the parabola shown. Now, what is the vertex that they gave us here? Vertex is at 0, 0. Now, we do have the directrix. They gave that to us, yes? Oh, yeah, it says directrix right there, and there's a blue line. There's a line right there. So when I have a horizontal line, would that be x equals or y equals? Because we're going straight across, yes? So whenever we have a straight line, either horizontal or vertical, one value will remain the same, yes? Is the x remaining the same or the y? The y, because it's at what? Y equals 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the equation, y equals 3. Now, which one of the two general forms has a directrix of y equals? Y equals 1 over 4p times x minus h squared plus k, or x equals 1 over 4p y minus k squared plus h. The x equals, yes, because it says right there directrix is what? Y equals k minus p. Here, the directrix is y equals. So that means the general form of this equation is going to be y equals 1 over 4p times x minus h squared plus k. Just because the directrix is y equals 3, it tells us immediately that this is the general form of the equation that we are finding. It also works out y equals, the parabola that is in y equals x squared is going to either open up or open down. This one here is opening down, so it would be y equals. The ones that we have that are x equals, it's either going to open to the left or to the right. When the y value is, or the y term is squared, we have y squared, it's opening left or right. When it is x squared, or x is the term that's squared, it's opening up or down. So here, let's go on and fill in what we know. Do we know the value of p? Well, not directly, but we do know where we can find it. It's going to be in the directrix. Do I know the value of h? It is 0. What's the value of k? 0, because the values of h and k come from the vertex. They told us the vertex is 0, 0, so the value of h and k have to be 0. Now the general form, so are there any questions on anything we've done thus far? Now the general form of the directrix is y equals what? Y equals what? K minus p, yes? So it's telling us that k minus p should equal what? Because that's what the directrix is, yes? Because the directrix is the equation y equals k minus p. Well, in this here, k minus p is 3. Do I know what the value of k is? So really it's saying 0 minus p is 3. Well, hey, I have an equation with one variable, yes? I can solve for p. Well, 0 minus p is just negative p. What do we do next? Divide both sides by -1, and it tells me p is equal to -3. Plug it in. We're going to plug it in. Questions on this here? Now the only thing we need to do is simplify. Well, 1 over 4 times -3. Well, positive times a negative is a 4 times 3 is. So we have -1/12. X minus 0 is just x by itself, and it is being what? We really just have x squared, and that's really gone. That's it. So really the only thing we needed to find was the value of p, yes? Because they told us h and k by giving us the vertex. Once we found p, we had it. So on any of these here, when we're finding the equation, we just need to find the values of h, k, and p. Now with this graph here, it really told us what the directrix was and the vertex. And I could figure out the general equation by 1, figuring out which way it opened, or 2. I just looked at the general forms, didn't I? Which one did it match with? And it's the y equals. Now if we look at this here, they do give us the vertex again. It is the point 0, 0. Now the directrix they tell us outright is y equals -2.5. Now would we be using y equals or x equals? Y equals because the directrix is still y equals a number in the general form. y equals 1 over 4p times x minus h squared plus k, has a directrix of y equals k minus p. It's the one it matches up with. Do I know the exact value of p? Well, kind of. I mean, we do have to do a little bit of calculations, but we know where to find it. Do we know what the value of h is? 0. K is 0. And just like last time, our directrix is k minus p equals negative 2.5. Well, what is the value of k? Well, it is 0, yes? So really we just have negative p is equal to negative 2.5. Do we really care what negative p is? No, we want to know what p is. Well, I changed p from negative to positive, yes? So what do I have to do to the other side? I have to change it from negative to positive or positive to negative. In this case, it's just saying that p is 2.5. Because we can multiply both sides by negative 1 or divide by negative 1, but if I change the sign of one side, I have to change the sign of the other, so it just tells me p is 2.5. And we would plug it in. Well, we need to do 4 times 2.5, which would be 10. Because 4 times 2 is 8. And if we take 0.5 or half of 4, it is 8 and 2 is 10. What's 2.5 plus 2.5? 5. I did it twice. If I double it, goes 2 to 4 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. And then we would have our x squared, because x minus 0 squared, x minus 0 is just x. And then we square it, so it's just x squared. And that's it. Questions on this here? Are you ready for the next one? Not too bad so far? Write the equation of the parabola. Okay, so they told us the directrix x equals negative 3. Did they tell us what the vertex was? Yeah, 0, 0. It's in the directions. So that tells me the value of h is 0. The value of k is 0. I just need to find the value of p, because if I have all three, we can plug them into the equation and simplify. Now this time they told us the directrix x equals negative 3. Are we using the equation that is x equals or y equals? X equals, because what's its directrix? X equals h minus p. X equals h minus p is the directrix, so we are using x equals 1 over 4p parentheses y minus what? K squared plus h. And this is something to be careful of, especially when solving. Now, it won't make a big difference today because h and k are both 0. So since they're both 0, even if you got them flipped on this one here, it won't make that big of a difference. But when we start looking at them tomorrow, we need to be careful when h and k have different values, because the k value of the vertex is the y, yes? Well, here, both y and k, both the values that deal with the y-axis are inside parentheses. Where's x? Outside parentheses, yes? So its h value is also outside. If you look at the other formula, when x is inside parentheses, so is h. They go together. Well, let's fill in what we know. Do I know the value of p? Well, no. But I do know k is 0 and h is 0. Well, the one spot where p shows up is in the directrix, because that is h minus p. We're saying that h minus p is, now what is h? We're saying 0 minus p is -3, or really negative p is equal to -3. So p is actually, p is actually equal to what? 3. Plug it in. X equals 1 over y minus 0 is just y squared. Now, when we start looking at them tomorrow, if it was like y minus 2 in parentheses squared, we're going to leave it. We're not going to try to simplify. We'll just leave it as that there. The reason we simplify this here is because y minus 0 is just y. We can simplify it easily without much hassle. Questions on this here? All right. Okay. So the parabola has a vertex of 0, 0. The focus is -2, 0. Yes? Are we using x equals or y equals? Why is that? So the vertex is always going to be h comma k, yes? Now when the equation is y equals, our focus is the point what? H comma k plus p, yes? So what changed from the vertex to this focus? The value of y. The y value of the focus is changing. The x value is still what? H, yes? Focus, it is h. Vertex, it is also h. Highlighter. H and h. It's still h. Nothing was changing from that, from the vertex to the focus for this one, is it? But from the vertex to the y value of the focus, it is, because we're adding the value of p to it, yes? Now the x equals for the focus in the general form is h plus p comma k. Highlighter. In this one here, the value of k is not changing, but the value of x is from the vertex to the focus, yes? So again, so is this here really using a lot of calculations? Not too much, because what are we doing? I'm looking at the vertex, which is 0, 0. Looking from the vertex to the focus, did the x or y change? The x, because the x value on the vertex is 0. The x value of the focus is -2. It changed, yes? X equals or y equals, which one does the x value change from the vertex to the focus? X equals, isn't it? Because it goes from h to h plus p. So that means the equation I'm using is x equals 1 over 4p parentheses y minus k squared plus h. Because what did we do? We really just compared the vertex and focus. Which number changed? Okay, well, x did change, the spot where the x value changes. So I'm using the equation where the x value changes from the vertex to the focus. Because I'm just looking at the general form, yes? Which value changes? Well, we still don't know what the value of p is yet, but I do know the value of h and k are both 0. questions on this here before we find the value P? Well, we know the vertex is 0, 0, yes? Well, the focus is -2, 0. Well, the -2 lines up with the h plus p, yes? So what we're really saying is that h plus p is equal to -2. What's the value of h? So we really just have p is equal to, we can say 0 plus p, or p is equal to simplify. Because 1 over 4 times -2, well, 4 times -2 is -8, so we get -1/8 y squared. Any questions on any of this here? Any questions on any of this here? Are we ready for the last one? So the vertex is still 0, 0. Is the x value changing from the vertex to the focus, or the y value changing from the vertex to the focus? The y, because it's going from 0 to 3/2. So which equation has the y value changing from vertex to focus? The y equals 1 over 4p. Parentheses, x minus h squared plus k. We don't know what p is quite yet, but we could. But I do know the value of h and k are both 0. Now the y value of the focus is given to us by the equation y, or h plus p. So h plus p is equal to what? Well, h is 0, so 0 plus p is equal to 3/2. Or really what p is equal to? And last but not least, we need to simplify. So we can do 4 times 3/2, 6. Well, x minus 0 is just x squared. And that's it. Any questions on any of this here? Now, what we'll do tomorrow, the big change that we're going to be dealing with tomorrow, is that the vertex is not going to be at the point 0, 0. Nothing else is really going to change. It's just that the vertex is not 0, 0. Will that really change how we work this here? Well, no, it's just that instead of having 0 and 0 for the x value of the vertex and focus, it could be 2. Because it could be 2 and 2. Because we're still just looking to see which one is the same and which one's different. And that is all we're doing today. We will look at 2.32 tomorrow. Now, I did change the name of the videos for today. Well, I haven't saved it yet, so it will follow this, but the one on Friday is not 2.31 anymore. It's 2.31A. Because we split it up into 2 parts, and what we're doing tomorrow is 2.32. So instead of completely rechanging how everything's written, it's still 2.31 A and B for these two, and then tomorrow's 2.32. Because whenever I already have them subdivided into 1 and 2, I will use A and B to split the videos. That way it's a little bit easier to remember instead of having a whole bunch of extra ones.